Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm super excited to have you all join us for the October edition of our FrontFundr Pitch Perfect event. Before we get into things today, I do want to cover a quick forward-looking information disclosure. So presentation today may contain forward-looking information. There can be no assurance that forward-looking information will prove to be accurate, as actual results in future events could differ materially from those anticipated in such statements. Accordingly, viewers should not place undue reliance on forward-looking information. And now I'd like to turn things over to Rustam of Tuktu. So Tuktu is a safe and simple platform that's helping seniors and their families with on-demand at-home support. So Rustam, please tell us a little bit more.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much, FrontFundr, for the amazing work you guys have put in here. I'll start by first acknowledging and thanking the Inuit communities of Northern Canada, from whom we've got this beautiful name, Tuktu. Tuktu actually means a caribou or a reindeer. And the animal, the reindeer, is a bearer of good news to most people in Canada, as well as it's a sign of happiness. So that's the values we stand for, and that's what I start with. I'd like to start by introducing you to Bill. Bill is a retired RCMP person living in Vancouver. He's lost his wife, has a little bit of mobility issues, but loves to chat with his grandchildren on FaceTime. He's supported by his kids, Randall and Nina, but they live far away. Randall lives in San Francisco, Nina is in Toronto. They have their whole life. They visit once in a while, but they don't really have a tool to really manage the ecosystem for Bill. And Bill is disconnected from the community. He lacks the access to everyday services and companionships. The full-time professional caregivers don't work for him. They're too expensive. And they're also facing a huge shortage. On the other hand, there's Rachel. Rachel is actually a UBC student. She's super excited, relates really well with older folks, has a lot of free time, and is willing to help. And people like Rachel are a growing number of workers who are actually fueled with the desire to work according to their time and the services they want to offer. They work with people like Bill quite often, and they build a nice bridge around a person like Bill. So Bill here can be supported by different members of his community, and that's what Tuktu brings. It brings peace of mind to the children that their parents are supported well. And from Tuktu's side, we provide the safety and the security to make the marketplace work through criminal background checks, reference checks, and through the app being very hyperlocal. So you only see providers or helpers who are around you. We also bring in quality and affordability quite strongly. So every person you see on the platform is trained. They know how to engage with the older folks. They know, how to detect dementia and other problems that's relating. And of course, it's cheaper than getting a professional to do the work. And the constant reviews and ratings really help as well. The platform technology also provides in a lot of personalization, really good matchmaking between the provider and the recipient based on language, skills, preferences, as well as suggestions on what you can do next with your companion. Of course, it's a safe system. So I'll just quickly show a quick video of Tuktu. And you can see that it's a really nice tool. You create your profile, you create your family tree, where your mom is, where your dad is, and you select the service that you want to give them. It could be a ride, a tech helper. Let's say in this case, you pick a tech helper. You assign it to the person who you want to give for. Let's say your mom. You give the address, and you provide us a little bit of information, which helps us personalize the service and gives us a little bit more detail that we transfer on to the Tuktu. Once you do that, you can pick a date for the service and the time. And interestingly, there's no back and forth between the provider and receiver. You find people in your neighborhood who are available at that date in a pretty Airbnb-like of interface. You see the match score, the languages they speak, and a little bit profile about who they are. And that's it. You're all set. Everybody gets a notification, and you get a really nice, neat dashboard where you can see what the budget, how much did you spend, and what the feedback from the service was. And also, using the data, you get a ton of recommendations on what you could do better. So we launched in January. It hasn't been a long time, but it's really excited to show you the curve. It's a strong growth, strong traction. We are closing in about $14,000, $15,000 of monthly recurrent revenue already with 628 users. All this done through word of mouth. And mostly what we notice is people come to us for the first service as a drive, because you need somebody to take your parent or your grandparent to the hospital or back. Maybe it's a procedure, maybe it's something that they would like to have a companion. We ensure it's a door-to-door service. Also, other services like tech help are really popular, where we gift our parents these iPads and complicated devices, but somebody has to help them set it up. But once we get these customers, we give them gardening, companionship, cooking, cleaning, a host of things that they would normally do with family. Our business model is simple. You do the transaction, we charge you 25%. We're right now in Vancouver. We're starting operations in Kelowna, Kamloops, and Nanaimo, so spread across British Columbia. But the aspiration is that over the part of the next year, we will be across Canada in some of the major cities where your parents might reside. We also want to try out something in US as well. So very different from the others. Unlike the conventional players like Home Insteads or Nurse Next Doors of the world, we are not a franchise unit. We don't employ full-time workers, which means that our costs are kept very low. On the other hand, unlike marketplaces like Uber's, this is a service which is very focused for aging adults and care recipients. So it's on demand, it's heavy tech, it's also safe and curated with a nice matchmaking. And interestingly, it works for everybody, whether you're a nonprofit or a small business owner yourself, you can get access to people. So super proud of the team we have created, both from the tech space as well as from the care industry. And here we are raising $1.2 million to scale across Canada. And we believe this money would give us a runway of about 1.5 years. In today's time, that should help us, really put our head down and get on work. And we'll be able to build across the tool as well. We've crossed about halfway mark. Some of it come from angels, some from FrontFundr as well. And we are now looking to you to get us to over the last mile. So thank you very much. And here's our QR code for the campaign link. And I'll happy to take any questions. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for the pitch there, Rustam. I know you mentioned kind of the regions that you cover, and I was actually in Victoria a couple of weeks ago and noticed a big billboard between the ferry there and the city. So it was great to see that. It's great to see that you're growing, and I think this is definitely a very relevant challenge that a lot of families are facing. Certainly, the pandemic exposed a lot of challenges with senior care homes and things like that, and more people are living remote now, not necessarily near to their families. So how have you seen kind of those trends and drivers change over the last couple of years that really support something like Tuktu coming into market?
That's a great question. So three big drivers that have happened over the last few years. Number one is, I would say, COVID has been a reminder that it's often people are often more interested to age at home and live in the house that they built with their own two hands as long as possible. I probably spoke to over 500 people when we were doing a customer discovery, and all of them would only go to a nursing home or a facility when they had some physical medical need to go there. Otherwise, they would love to stay at home. And that COVID just re-emphasized that, right? Nobody wants to go to the care homes. The death rates in the care homes, unfortunately, were the highest in COVID.
Yeah.
Number two driver has been the sheer rise on gig economy. And I'm smiling because most people now prefer to work on their own time and pick and choose what they want to do, right? So this is one way of ensuring that people who are wanting to work in gig economy have an opportunity in the care space as well, which is really suffering. It's the attrition rate of full-time workers is super high. And number three, with family moving away, we noticed that $500 million last year was spent on family members trying to manage care for their loved ones, for their aging adults. So these trends of family moving away, people preferring to live at home, and gig workers coming into the economy are really the driving force for us.
That's fantastic. We've had a couple questions come through the chat as well. So, one individual mentioned that this is a great idea for the aging population, but that they're wondering about kind of safety concerns, especially with seniors. And I know that's something that, even apps like Uber and stuff have struggled with. So how do you ensure safety of the service recipients?
Yeah, and that's a brilliant question. And when I was starting it, I thought of my parents, right? And obviously safety comes first. So before anyone comes on board to the platform, a full thorough background check is done. So we have an API with our CMP, which does a criminal check, a vulnerability check of that individual. Once that is done, we also from our own side do a reference check. So we ask that person for a bunch of references and we follow up on them and check in. And then the app in itself is built in such a way that it's kind of like Airbnb. You only see people in a certain radius around which your care recipient is. So you wouldn't see somebody coming from far away to do anything, or any, I would say, temporary transient person. So that makes it inherently more safe as well. We also do a constant reviews, monitoring, and that engine is already working. So if there is somebody who's not performing, I mean, nobody's been unsafe so far, but let's say somebody's late or perpetually under delivering, we can weed them out as well.
Fantastic. We had another question about the competition. Are there similar services out there doing this?
Yes, I mentioned a few. So majority of the market is actually filled with either nonprofits or very smaller companies which are working inside a particular locality, and it will be a single owner, 4 or 5 care workers who work full time, and they provide them around. We actually are very complementary to them. We provide them access to a greater supply, which is the biggest concern for these folks, and also a technology platform. So instead of managing your Excel sheets, you can use an AI-based platform for your CRM and to manage the care workers as well as to get in the customers. The bigger brands that are there and I rush through it, like Nurse Next Door, Home Instead, they are actually working on people who need more intense care and longer hours. So somebody who needs bathing help and something a little bit more medical. And they have a minimum hour limit that you have to book the care worker for, and you have to pay a certain amount. So they tend to be more expensive, and they tend to cater to sort of the top of the pyramid in the sense of people who can afford to get it. Ours is more focused on demand. So you are living alone at home, you need somebody to help with gardening, you don't want to get into a contract, and you don't want to spend a lot. You find somebody from your neighborhood who's safe and willing to do that.
Fantastic. Well, we're coming up on the end of our time here, but Restam, thank you so much for the fantastic pitch. Thank you for answering the great questions that we had from the attendees today as well. If you do have more questions for Tuktu, I encourage you to visit their campaign page at frontfundr.com/Tuktu. And yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
And for anyone who might be new to getting started with an investment on FrontFundr or anything like that, just wanted to cover what that process is a little bit. So if you are ready to get started, feel free to visit frontfundr.com to learn more. You'll find the campaign pages for all of the 5 companies that pitched today within our investment opportunities. You can watch their videos, read their campaign overview, review their pitch deck and offering document. And then, if you have any questions about the investment process at any time, do reach out to our support team at support@frontfundr.com. They're here to help you throughout the entire process with any questions that you might have. And of course, for all of the companies who presented today, if you have questions for them, you can find their contact information directly on their campaign pages. You can give them a call, send them an email, or even arrange a time to ask these businesses questions. So for everyone who tuned in today, thank you so much for attending. To all of our presenters and panelists for today, thank you so much for telling your story and giving your business pitch. Yeah, really thrilled to have you all on for another fantastic edition of Pitch Perfect. So thank you all for your time, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.